Hi, this is Hayden Johnson. This is my speech, Guns in America, What You Should Know.
It's October 25th. Here's his audience in-house and his family.
Imagine you're walking down the street one day. Someone walks up to you and puts a 44 in your face and says, "Give me all your money." What would you do in that moment? If you were a citizen passing by, what would you do? Would you think this means we as citizens in America should get our guns taken from us? Or do you think that it means that we as American citizens should be armed? This is a question that many Americans struggle with today. Hi, my name is Hayden Johnson, and in this speech I'm going to inform you about the current laws that are being created in America about gun control, and I'm going to inform you about what we as citizens can do as far as protecting ourselves with guns and how that affects us as citizens and crime rates in America. In this speech you will hear statistics and facts from credible agencies like the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Also, you hear one of my personal testimonies about an encounter that I had myself where my life was threatened, and how that made me very aware of how important gun control is to public awareness. At the same time, this type of information can give you the tools as an individual and as an American citizen to make your own choices about what you believe in gun control. I will go through some of the newer laws that are being created not only in Colorado but the nation as well. I will also go through how guns are used in crime in America and what their involvement of guns in crime looks like. And finally, I will tell you how the ownership of firearms is a deterrent for crime in America and a good means of self-defense. First thing I want to talk about is Colorado's current gun laws and current gun laws in the nation, and how they're becoming more strict and strict. But public opinion is taking a turn for the opposite. In Colorado, a lot has changed in the last year when it comes to gun laws. According to the National Rifle Association for Legislative Actions, in July of 2013, it was made illegal to transfer high-capacity magazines in excess of 15 rounds. This also made it illegal to purchase those magazines in a store. The National Rifle Association continued in saying that any transfers of weapons had to go through a certified FFL dealer, meaning the state has full knowledge of what guns you own and other personal information. The record shall include the name of the person of whom the handgun is being transferred, his or her age, occupation, residence, make, caliber, finish and serial number of the handgun, and the date and transfer name of the employee making the transfer. This information also came from the National Rifle Association's assessment of Colorado's gun laws. This bill took away a lot of rights of people in Colorado, rights that they enjoyed, and it also seemed like a pretty big invasion of privacy. This brings us to our next point, what the current legislation is nationwide and what it looks like. California's gun laws are just as strict or stricter than they are in Colorado, and they were in place before Colorado's. According to the Deseret News article, 10 States with the Strictest Gun Laws, by Matthew Harvingston on April 17 in 2013, California residents were required to also register any transfer or sale of weapon through an FFL dealer, just like Colorado. Harvingston continued in saying that states like Illinois, New Jersey, Hawaii, and Massachusetts are required to obtain permits to even buy weapons at all. In Massachusetts, you have to have a different permit for handguns, shotguns, and rifles. This means that to purchase a gun in any of these states, you actually have to apply for a permit to purchase a gun. These are the kinds of bills that are being passed more frequently in the United States, and in some places it's just the beginning. So what is the future of gun control? Americans have responded to their invasion of privacy and infringement on their rights, and the Daily Caller said that only 40% of Americans are in favor of the current gun laws in America. That's down 9% from last year, according to Gallup polls. In Steve Sanandi's article, polls show that most Americans see through gun control spin, written on April 1st, 2014. Sanandi went on to say that in the Gallup, it said that triple the amount of Americans oppose the current gun laws that are being put in place right now. That number went from 5% to 16%. This shows that public opinion on gun control is beginning to change as more of our rights are being taken away from us. According to Dan Zimmerman in his article, California Governor Brown bans more handguns by signing AB 1964. The California governor in July of 2013 signed a bill that removed the single-shot exemption for non-safe handguns in California, and this made even more handguns in California illegal. Even though public opinion is changing all over the United States, U.S. legislature continues to pass laws that make the lawful ownership of guns more tough. In places such as California, there's talk of outlawing handguns altogether, and in New York City, that's already taken place. That brings us to our next point, how these laws are being created. We will explore how guns are used in crimes in America and their involvement in crime, what their involvement in crime actually looks like. Guns are used in several different types of crimes, but they are not as prominent as many people may think. In 2011, 69% of homicides were committed in the U.S. using firearms. Only 8% on non-fatal crimes, 25% of robberies involved handguns, and 30.6% of aggravated assaults involved guns, according to the U.S. Department of Justice in their study for firearm violence from 1993 to 2011. Yes, this percentage of homicides seems quite high, involving firearms. 69% is pretty substantial. But if you look at homicides in relation to the rest of violent crime in America, homicides only account for 1.2% of total violent crime in America. That means that robberies, aggravated assault, and non-fatal crimes account for the other 98.8% of crimes committed in America. And in those categories, guns were only used 25.7% of times in robberies and 30.6% of the time in aggravated assault, and only 8% of the time in non-fatal crimes. With that in mind, if we look at the other categories of crime, guns are not really used that often in crimes around the United States. They're used really frequently in homicides, but not in other types of crimes. Now we move on to see that most guns used in crimes are obtained through illegal sources. According to Jay Olmsted of the Daily Caller in his article, Where Criminals Get Their Guns, based on a study done by the Department of Justice in 1997, shown that most of the criminals got their guns through illegal manners. As you can see here on this pie chart, 8.3% bought it from a retail store, 3.8% of gun owners purchased them at a flea market, only 1% of them bought them at a gun store, and 0.7% of them bought them at a gun show. 39.6% obtained their guns illegally from friends or family, and 39.2% obtained their guns illegally from street sources. What this shows is that about 79% of the total guns used in crimes, which is right here, these two sides, were obtained through illegal avenues. This information shows that a small number of responsible gun owners are actually involved in violent crimes involving firearms, and that the guns that are used in violent crimes are more than likely illegal weapons. This brings to light the fact that criminals will choose to break the law no matter how strict the laws become, and that the stricter the laws get, it takes away the rights of the responsible gun owners. That brings us to our last point, and that's that one major public outcry that we hear today is guns for the use of self-defense, and that is a popular reason that people buy guns every year. Every year people use guns as a means of self-defense. In an article by Ben Garrett called The Use of Guns to Deter Crime for CivilLiberty.com in 2014, he stated that guns are used to defend citizens over 2.5 million times a year. Another study in Garrett's article performed by James D. Wright and Peter Rossi, after interviewing 2,000 inmates, 34% of those inmates were either wounded or deterred by civilians with guns, and 57% of those inmates said that they were more scared of civilians with guns than they were of law enforcement. Bennett's article also stated that in the Netherlands, 45% of burglaries are hot burglaries, meaning that during the burglary, the homeowner was either harmed or injured during the burglary. That number in the United States is just 13%, and in the Netherlands, guns are illegal. Which gives way to the fact that they have 45% hot burglaries and we only have 13. So it shows us that guns are a very effective means for self-defense in the United States and for defending yourself. The last piece of information I would like to share with you is an event that actually happened to me. Last year in 2013, I was in a Walmart and I was attacked by two Hispanic males from a gang who pulled knives on me in Walmart. I was able to defend myself and get away from the knives unharmed. But this instance really showed me keeping my right to bear arms is very important to me. And it was a very scary situation. And it showed me that us as citizens really need to pay attention to the new gun control laws and things that are being enacted around us. So what did we learn in this speech today? We learned that, first off, there's newer gun laws that are becoming stricter and stricter based on the fact that there's a lot of guns used in crimes. But we learned that guns are not used as often in crimes as we were led to believe. Second of all, we learned that guns are a very effective means to protecting ourselves. You can become a victim at any time, and I think this is a topic that should be brought up in the talks about gun control. So put yourself back in that situation. You're staring face to face with a .44 Magnum. What would you want? Would you want laws to prevent that man from ever getting that gun, or would you want a gun on yourself to be able to protect yourself effectively? These are all questions that we have to answer for ourselves, and I hope that the information in the speech will help all of you answer those questions for yourselves. Thank you.
Good job, bud.
Thanks.